instructor and mentor at NextGen T. As IT professionals, we're always trying to level up and become a stronger rock star engineer. And in order to do that, one of the things we do is actually take certification exams. And when you go to take a certification exam, your ultimate goal is certification success. And here at NextGen T, we want to help you to find that certification success. So I created this video about certification study and test taking tips. And that way you can be ready when the day comes for your certification exam and you can experience certification success. So let's see what tips we're going to talk about today. We're going to have 8 tips we're going to cover. Now some of these tips are going to be for before you even really start studying at all. Some will be for during your study time, and some are going to be actually on the day of the test, things you need to do. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about do your homework before you do your homework, take breaks, reward yourself, listen to atmospheric music, get enough sleep, eat a healthy breakfast, brain dump, and the process of elimination. So to do your homework before you do your homework, that's kind of a mind-blowing thought, right? You're like, I haven't even got an assignment yet. How do I do homework? Well, it's pretty simple. This is done before you ever start learning. So when you've decided I'm going to take a certification exam, these are the steps you need to take immediately before you even crack a book or even start a course. The first one you're going to want to do is review the exam objectives for the certification exam you've decided to take. Every certification entity out there posts the topics that they require for their exam. And they'll actually tell you how much weight does each of those topics have on the given exam. They'll be in some type of a percentage out of 100% for each topic. So now not only do you know what topics are important, you know what topics are most important. The next thing I'm going to have you do is take a pretest. You'd be surprised how much you actually know about the IT industry just from walking around. Technology is always advancing, and we're walking around with computers in our hand now all the time. You might be surprised how much you actually know. So take that pretest, and then you can actually see, okay, I may know a little bit more about this topic or that topic, and so I don't have to put as much time into that, but there may be other topics. Oh, I really need to learn that. I don't have a lot of knowledge there. After you've done that, find some good study resources. Maybe it's just going out and buying note cards so you can write down notes and keep flashcards. Or maybe you're more of a digital person and you want to do things on the internet. Sites like Quizlet, they'll actually provide you with flashcards that you can review. Join a community like NextGen T. We have our own social media platform where other students are going through the same thing as you, and maybe they've already experienced certification success on the exam you're taking, and they may be able to help you out. Some of them might even be able to provide you with flashcards they've already done digitally. So make sure that you do your homework before you do your homework. So that's before you ever start studying. Once you start studying, you gotta take breaks. This is extremely vital. Pulling an all-nighter cram session, those things don't work anymore. You need to study for a certain amount of time and take breaks. And the Academic Success Center at the Oregon State University actually did a study and showed that 45 to 60 minutes of intense focus and studying requires a break. That's a very, very important time to take a break because you're going to start to drift, you're going to start to lose what you're actually studying, and it's going to become less beneficial. If you're switching subjects, so maybe you're studying routers and switches and you're going to go to IP addressing, take a break in between. That way you can cement the information that you've already been studying and prepare your mind clean for the new thing you're going to study. If you notice you're just losing focus, it may not have been 45 minutes, maybe 20 minutes in, you're just kind of losing focus and you can't really pay attention, take a quick break. Just clear your mind and get ready so you can actually focus and do what you need to do. The next thing you need to do whenever you're going to take that break, when you've decided, okay, it's break time, set a time limit on that break. Don't just say, I'm going to take a break now and start doing something else and never have a time limit for that break to end, because guess what? That break won't end. You'll stay on that break the entire time and you'll never get back to studying, and next thing you know, you've just wasted 2 or 3 hours. So what type of breaks are good? Well, we find that things that actually get your body up and moving and your blood pumping are the best types of breaks. So go for a walk. Maybe you want to take a jog. Something like that is really good for taking a break. Do not go and play video games or try to do something that's going to stimulate your mind in another way. We want your mind to calm down. We want it to relax, but we want to pump your blood and get your blood flowing again so that you can really just get ready to get back into studying and make that next 45 to 60 minutes a great 45 to 60 minutes as well. After you're done studying and you've finished a day of studying, you've taken your breaks in between, at the end you want to reward yourself. Tony Robbins' team actually, and Tony Robbins is a very famous motivational speaker if you don't know him, his team actually did a lot of research on this, and they found that rewards actually elicit positive emotions. This is going to be good for you, and it's going to reinforce the positive habits that maybe you use during studying. And actually taking the time to study is going to be reinforced. So we want to reinforce those positive habits. You need to plan your reward. You don't want your reward to just be something like, okay, I got done studying, I'm going to give myself a high five, I'm going to pat myself on the back, something crazy like that. You know, you actually want to have a planned out reward. Maybe it's, I'm going to eat a chocolate bar. You know, maybe that's what you want to do. Okay, plan that out. Or maybe it's, I'm going to go with my wife to dinner. Plan that out. Maybe it's going to be, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have a nice show I'm going to watch, something on Netflix or some kind of streaming service. Plan that reward to do it, but do it after studying. Do not try to do it during the studying. I know that chocolate bar will be really tempting if that's your reward, but don't bring it to the study session. Make it afterwards. Don't put it in the middle. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to go and watch that Netflix show and then I'll start studying, because you won't start studying. The reward has to be planned and it has to be after studying. And do these things so you can elicit those positive emotions and you can actually reinforce those positive habits. While you're studying, it's really cool if you listen to atmospheric music. It actually really helps you. And when I say atmospheric music, what do I mean? I mean music with no words. You don't want something where you're going to focus on the lyrics and you're going to hear what it's saying and it's going to actually break you away from what you're studying. And then you're going to become really good at memorizing the lyrics, but you're not actually going to learn the information that's going to set you up for certification success. The University of Maryland Medical Center did a study on atmospheric music while studying, and they actually found that it activates your left and right brain. So that makes your brain more powerful when you're studying. It reduces stress during that study time, and it helps you to process your emotions while you're studying, as well as strengthen your resolve during study time. All these things are great things to have during studying. So go ahead, put on some classical music in the background, or just something without any words that you can have planned that will just really put your body and your mind at ease. All right, this is going to be something you need to do during studying, and you're going to need to do it the day before you take the test. That's get enough sleep. I know we've been talking about this since we were children. Your parents probably used to tell you to go to bed when you were a kid because you need your sleep, you need your rest. It's actually really important. As adults, we need to learn that a little better. The American Academy for Sleep Medicine actually recommends 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This is so important. They actually did studies to find out, why is that so important? And they took students from Harvard and they had them sleep only 6 hours a night for 2 weeks straight. And they found that at the end of those two weeks, sleeping 6 hours or actually less a night equated to staying up for 48 hours straight. It was the same thing. The behavior exhibited was almost identical. So it's really important that you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I recommend 8, right there in the middle. Try to shoot for that 8 hours of sleep. The next study I want to talk about that actually says you need to get enough sleep is done by the National Center for Biotechnology and Information, and they did a study on nurses. They found that when they had nurses staying awake 17 to 19 hours without sleep, they actually equated to having a 0.05% blood alcohol content, so almost like they had been drinking alcohol. And that's really not good to bring to a study session as well. If you stay up greater than 19 hours, those nurses, when they did this study, they found that that was equal to a 0.10% blood alcohol content. And that's actually illegal to drive in the U.S., pretty much anywhere, for that kind of blood alcohol content. So how are you going to study if you can't even operate legally a motor vehicle? This is really important to remember, that staying up late and doing these all-night cram sessions actually did not help. They're detrimental. And come test day, they're going to give you 50% slower response speeds. That's not good on a test. You need to be able to recall things quickly. You need to be able to focus and really knock out those questions. So if we put these two studies together and we think about that, if staying up for 48 hours straight is the same as sleeping 6 hours or less for 2 weeks straight, that means that sleeping for 6 hours or less for 2 weeks straight is actually equal to having a 0.10% blood alcohol content all the time. So we don't want to be carrying ourselves around that way when we're trying to study and remember things. And with remembering things, sleeping actually is important because it actually consolidates your memories. So when you're studying and you want to remember things, you going to sleep and getting this appropriate amount of sleep is going to help you to consolidate those memories. And when you go to take a certification exam, consolidating memories and remembering the things that you've studied are extremely important when you want to experience certification success. A couple more important factors to remember. Don't take your study material into the bed with you. Studying in bed is either going to equal one of two things. One, you're going to fall asleep while trying to study, and that's not going to work. Or you're going to stay up too long and you're not going to get sleep because you're going to keep studying. Another thing is turn off the TV. I know that a lot of us think having the TV on actually helps me go to sleep, but studies have proven that is not the case. You need to get a dark room. You need to turn off the television. Also, get that cell phone away from your nightstand. I know you want to put your cell phone on your nightstand, you want to have access to it, but then it's going to buzz or it's going to ring, and you're going to have to check it. You're going to check the notifications, and before you know it, you spend an hour looking at notifications or maybe playing a game on your phone, and you haven't gotten the sleep you were supposed to. So get that cell phone away from your nightstand. All right, that's all the things for studying. Now we've moved into the day of the certification exam. When you wake up that morning, you really want to eat a healthy breakfast. Well, why is it important to eat a healthy breakfast? Well, eating actually affects cognitive performance. It's going to help you with your memory and your attention. When you're sitting there trying to take a test, you definitely need your memory, right? You have to recall things. And you don't want to, every time you hear somebody clear their throat or cough or move or do anything besides you, lose that attention. You want to focus on the exam that you're trying to take. So make sure that you're eating a healthy breakfast because it's going to affect your memory and attention. Eat these brain boosting foods. These are things you're going to want to eat. We're talking about whole grains, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. These are very important things to eat the morning of your test. Now, when I say healthy breakfast, I don't mean large breakfast. I don't want you to eat these things in excess. You can eat too much fresh fruit and too much fresh vegetables and too much whole grains, okay? So make sure you don't stuff yourself. One thing you really want to do is avoid the brain blocking foods. There are foods that can actually block your memory and your attention span. And that's going to be things high in sugar, high in carbohydrates. We don't want a big thing of biscuits and gravy or a large stack of pancakes. These things, while they'll fill you up and you won't be hungry during the test, you are going to have a harder time recalling things in your memory and paying attention. So, you've made it to the test, you've ate your healthy breakfast, you slept really well the night before, now we're sitting there, we're ready to test. We want to do a brain dump. So this is going to actually be when they give you a piece of white paper or a dry erase board. Every test center that I know of, that I've heard of, hands you this when you go in so that you can write down scratch notes. Write down everything you can remember. Just write it down. Anything you can think of, right at the top, before you ever start trying to go through questions, write that stuff down. This can actually be done during the test explanation time. Now, you can't do it the moment they hand it to you. They're going to make it clear that anything you write down during this time, you can actually be kicked out of the testing room. Don't do that. But there's actually a period where the test is going to teach you how to take the test. It's going to show you how the application works and go through all the different nuances of the application they're using. During that time, you can write down on this piece of paper. So dump everything you can from your brain. And get that all out, because maybe later during the test you might get to one of those questions and be like, oh, I already got that information right here on my brain dump. I can mark that question good and move on very quickly. Also, when you start going through questions, things you haven't written down, you're going to start pushing things out of your mind to call other things up. You're going to move them around in your mind. And if you already have it wrote down and you forget it halfway through the test, it doesn't matter. It's right there. You can recall it very quickly. So do your brain dump. Get as much things down as you can as possible. All right, now you're taking the test. You've gotten your brain dump, you've gone through the explanation phase, and you're on questions. I want to give you a little tip that you can use on every question on a certification exam. It's called the process of elimination. This is used for multiple choice questions. Most all the questions you're going to take on certification exams that are just questions are going to be multiple choice. Now, you might have some lab simulation that's going to be a little different, but for the actual questions, when they're asking you to recall information, you should remember they're going to be multiple choice questions, and process elimination is going to work great. Why does it work great? It works great because you can remove obvious wrong choices. This can narrow down the answers. You may not know exactly what the answer is, but if you can narrow down a couple of things that definitely aren't there, it's going to increase your probability of getting the question right. And then it gets you down to where you can pick the most right answer. Certification exams are huge on this type of question. They're going to give you a couple answers that might be right, but one's going to be the most right. One's really going to be the right question. And because this section is so important, I actually want to kind of go through the process with you and talk about the process elimination and how we do that. So if this was one of your questions, which piece of equipment is utilized at the network layer of the OSI model, or layer 3? We have a switch, B, MAC address, C, hub, or D, router. Okay, so at this point, I got to start my process elimination. I know that the question said which piece of equipment, and I know that a MAC address is not a piece of equipment. So that's really easy. I can remove MAC address. So now I'm down to only 3. Keep kind of racking my brain and I think, oh yeah, I know that a hub is not really an intelligent piece of equipment. It kind of just sits down there at the physical layer. It doesn't really do much for me. I can remove that. Okay, now I'm down to just 2 answers. So I have a 50-50 shot. If I don't know which one's right, I got a 50-50 shot at this point. I just went up from a 25% chance of getting the question right to a 50% chance. Now, if you know this question and you know the answer here, you're thinking, well, a switch can operate at layer 3, the network layer, and a router, I know, operates at layer 3, network layer. That's where you got to go to that most right. A switch can operate at that layer, but a router always operates at that layer. So the router is going to be your most right answer. We can remove switch, mark router, and move on. And this is how you use the process of elimination to be a better test taker and move farther towards certification success. I really hope you guys can take these study tips that I've given you and just utilize them to really prepare to take your certification exam and actually just knock it out of the park when you go to take it, and you can experience certification success and just keep leveling up and becoming a rockstar engineer. I'll see you guys again soon.